You're in an interesting position because for the Obama campaign, you did largely qualitative research and focus groups.
That's correct. We had a team of pollsters, there were about 4 of us during the primary season. We added a couple more for the general election. But I started early, actually very early, even before.
Kindergarten?
I'm sorry?
Kindergarten?
I started. Yeah, I was an Obama supporter since 1955, and I was born. We did focus groups, qualitative research, ad testing, starting back in December of 06, almost 2 years ago now, all the way through, God, it was like almost the week before election day. We were still out there quizzing voters about their reactions to the contest.
So essentially, you helped the campaign determine what messages really resonated with different subsets of the population you elected?
That's right. We were message development. We looked at how people felt about the contest in general, but we also spent quite a bit of time showing them some of the paid media, the ads people were seeing on TV, both from the McCain side and the Obama side, and from the Hillary side before that, to get people's reaction to how they were looking at the messaging. So yeah, we were focused on messaging.
Okay, so were you the guy behind hope? Was it like originally everything is ruined and you said, no, that's not going to work?
Well, I did not.
I'm just spitballing here.
I did not invent hope, but that kind of came from the candidate himself. And I tell you, hope is such a good message. People want hope. Hope over fear, by the way, at the very end, and I can, you can ask me more specific questions here in a minute, but at the very end of the campaign, one of the themes that people really latched onto was hope over fear, a line that the president-elect used frequently. And the reason that it had so much resonance at the end of the campaign is that people were getting scared a lot, especially by the tactics of the Republicans, who had a lot of very frightening ads that they were running at the end of the campaign. So when the president-elect would talk about putting hope over fear, and you saw large swaths of people, middle-class voters across the political spectrum saying that's what we want. We want hope. We're tired of fear.
There's a truism that independents tend to be turned off by negative ads. Have you found that to be the case?
I think everybody these days is being turned off by negative ads. At the end of the campaign here, we just got negative after negative after negative, and I heard people in my focus group saying, please stop this stuff. I can't even listen to these ads anymore. People had, showed me how they would hit the mute button on their remotes when they were talking about watching these ads, or they change the channel, they'd get up and leave the room, but there was no stomach at all for the negativity. People were receptive to Obama's message because it did have a positive edge to it. It did try to bring people together and talk about what we can do rather than what we can't do.
I live in Philadelphia, and the last few days of the campaign, the TV was swamped with Jeremiah Wright negative ads.
Yes.
Did that at all close what would inevitably be a fairly large margin?
Freaked me out, Chris. Chris asked me earlier, like, when did I think that I knew that Obama had won? And I said, not until they called it there, like you saw in that TV segment there. I was so nervous. And I was nervous the week before because this was not the McCain campaign that was putting out those ads at the end in Pennsylvania especially. They decided they had to make a stand in Pennsylvania, and they put out an ad. This was by the National GOP Trust, which is one of these side groups that decided at the end that they were going to plaster Jeremiah Wright with that one, hand motion that he does of not God, bless America, God damn America. They ran that continually. And I was freaking out then because all of a sudden I was looking at the possibility that there would be these scare tactics that I just talked about that would be effective at the end. We were looking at Pennsylvania, knowing that if the McCain campaign was going to win, they were going to have to take a blue state away from us, and Pennsylvania was one they targeted.
Was that ever in play based on?
Never was in play. And our polling had shown that despite Obama losing Pennsylvania considerably to Hillary Clinton in the primary, we found that those working-class white folk in the center of the state who had strongly preferred Hillary Clinton to Barack Obama, they came back to Barack Obama in the general election because he was talking to them about middle-class values, about fixing the economy, about fixing health care, speaking to them about the issues that they cared about. So when they saw Jeremiah right at the end, I was concerned, being a nervous guy that I am, that it might be effective, but the voters said no, they'd already made their decision, it was a little bit too late.
Well, from an insider's view, how effective was Jeremiah Wright previously? I mean, really, to me, it seemed the most damaging aspects of the attack on Barack Obama were generated by Hillary Clinton's campaign. There was really nothing new other than this kind of socialism piece, which I suspect didn't have such a great resonance on swing voters. But how did Jeremiah Wright impact Obama's campaign during the primaries, and to what extent did that correlate with the white working class electorate?
I think Jeremiah Wright incident was the most damaging to Obama during the primary season. Although his race, the speech on race that he delivered in Philadelphia was a mark that really put him, a landmark that caused voters across the country to look at Barack Obama as someone that could take us a step above. So the Jeremiah Wright incident was damaging, and he recovered with that speech in Philadelphia, when all of a sudden I was hearing people all across the country saying, my God, this man talked to us like we're adults. He talked to us like we're educated. He didn't talk down to us like the politicians normally do. He talked in paragraphs rather than sound bites. Never heard that before. So
there was some suggestion that some advisors said that wasn't a good idea. Because, frankly, there probably hasn't ever been a candidate to do that who was a viable candidate, or really a public figure who did such a thing in such a way, and such a fulcrum.
Mike, this is a great thing, because my recollection is that there was some dissension and some different points of view within the campaign advisors about whether Obama should go out and make that race speech as publicly as he did. And to the credit of the man that's going to be the next president of the United States, he said, I want to make this speech. If I make this speech and I lose because of it, so be it. But this is a speech that needs to be made.
Administration, in the campaign, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not too ahead of myself.
We're in there too.
Told me that he had actually begun writing that speech after Ohio, and that it really came to be around these issues of Jeremiah Wright. And actually, it was Farrakhan, you may recall, I'm sure you do, when the late Tim Russell asked Barack Obama to denounce, repudiate, renounce, disavow, make fun of Louis Farrakhan, who was unaffiliated with the campaign, with whom he did not have a significant relationship. And I believe it was around that time that these issues of his racial allegiance or crypto militancy, perhaps, might disturb a lot of people he would need to win the nomination.
Well, the one thing that we found out doing our focus groups early was that, and remember that we're talking to Democrats during the primary season here, and some independents were able to vote in the Democratic primaries. And while I certainly know that there are plenty of racists who are Democrats, it's not just a Republican, there are racists on all sides of the political spectrum. But we found early on that people were willing to look beyond, especially in Iowa. Iowa is a pretty special place. I'm from Illinois myself. It's close. They were familiar with the senator back then, and they were looking at well, what does this man tell us about his ability to lead the country? Where does he stand on helping the middle class and helping healthcare? So when we're hearing a lot of racial cues early on, even though we had some that would pop up in the most unexpected moments. I remember one woman in our focus group, after one of the first things that Obama did to increase his credibility was, in fact, big money was coming into his campaign. All of a sudden people were listening to these finance reports, and my God, this black senator from Illinois made $30 million. Obviously it was a huge benefit to him in the sense that people were taking him seriously where they did not before. I remember one woman in my focus group, and I don't want to always point out the negative, but just to give you a sense, give the audience a sense of what some of the stuff we heard out there. I heard one woman say, well, where's he getting all that money? It's a lot of money out there. It's not just coming from people like me. Maybe it's coming from the NAACP.
The coffers are overflowing.
30 million from